So is Candace Owens a narcissist? Hello friends, in today's video we're going to discuss how I truly believe that Candace Owens is a narcissist. Narcissism is not simply a clinical condition. I believe that narcissism is a deeply spiritual condition and it's something that's become more prevalent in our world. Even though the Bible never explicitly uses the word narcissist or narcissism, it constantly points us to two core fundamental layers of narcissism, which is pride and selfish ambition. These are the two cores of somebody who's narcissistic or someone who has the spirit of narcissism in them. With everything that's come out, I don't know if you saw her latest tweet on X about the fact that she believes there is a French assassin after her who were somehow involved with the Charlie Kirk's assassination. I mean, it's just bizarre. It's like you're at this point when you're wondering, is this person going through some kind of psychosis, paranoia, or what's going on, And I truly believe that Candace Owens is a prime example of someone who's unhinged and who's deeply narcissistic to the point that they don't see themselves fully. And there's just like this literal instability in them. And if you're a Christian, you should not be surprised by this. The Bible talks about narcissism many times. Satan is the ultimate narcissist in the Bible, and there's other characters like Saul and Nebuchadnezzar, so there's a deep core of pride in a narcissist and selfish ambition. The Bible also warns us about this condition. In the last days, you're going to have this rise of these narcissistic people. They're going to be more prevalent and they're going to use the name of Christ, but do not be deceived. When we read in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 17, it says this, "But understand this, that in the last days, there will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit, lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness but denying its power. Avoid such people." So Paul is very strict. He says, avoid these kind of people. He's writing this to Timothy, and this is what you see when you look at somebody like Candace Owens, who has a platform, somebody who professes the name of Christ, who says that she is a follower of Jesus, but then, in the same token, acts from a place of arrogance and conceit, gives herself such a authority and grandiose understanding of things, like when she uses words to literally twist reality. You look at somebody like that and you wonder, how is such person also a Christian? They're not lovers of God. They're not lovers of truth. They are lovers of self, and they're motivated by pride and selfish ambitions. They're not afraid to destroy anything in their path, to build their empires, solidify their name on this earth, because that's what they're after. They're not after godliness or truth. So in today's video, I really want to break that down, how I truly believe that, we are witnessing a great narcissist at work, because that is what Candace Owens is. And her methods, many YouTubers have uncovered her tactics, made videos on this, but I want to, make some observations here. I know that people love to throw the word narcissist around like left and right, oh, somebody mistreated you, oh, they're a narcissist, somebody did this and that in your relationship with them, they're a narcissist. But, if you have ever had the pleasure of meeting a narcissist in real life, you will never, ever forget that spirit. And unfortunately, I had the pleasure of meeting such a person once in my life, and I had never forgotten. I mean, I was just like, it's unbelievable. I don't believe that's just simply a person operating in this behavior. I do believe it is a spirit. It's a deeply spiritual problem. And this person specifically that I'm referring to had all these signs. And I was just like so fooled by it. And until the Lord really revealed who was in front of me, and I was just horrified. You wonder in retrospect, how could I have fallen for this? It's a deeply deceptive, manipulative spirit, that, even the most sane and, rational person will find themselves deceived. They're the ultimate magicians. They're the ultimate manipulators. So this is something that needs to be talked about. As, Paul says to Timothy, people like this are on the rise, and they will claim they're Christians, that they're followers of Jesus, that they're disciples of Christ, but they couldn't be further from that. So in this specific person that I've encountered in my personal life, they knew the word of God very well. They were intelligent. They were charismatic. They had all these things, that look like they're a great person, but deep down, they were actually a very prideful, self-centered, and narcissistic person who would use anything and anyone to protect their ego, their fragile ego, and the only thing that they want to serve is themselves. is their pride. One of the cardinal signs, when you look at somebody like Candace Owens and you see her making these bold, unsubstantiated claims, like Israel killed Charlie Kirk, or I don't believe that Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk, or Turning Point USA, had something to do with his death. When you hear somebody like Candace Owens making grandiose claims that they cannot support by real evidence, this is a sign of narcissism. Because that is something that they do. They make bold, grandiose claims. And this is something that this person that I've encountered in my life personally did that. He would make this bold claim about his business, and I'm like, wow, like you're so successful. Like you do this and you met this and you do that. And it sounds like, wow, it's so big and grandiose that there's a part of you that wonders, like, is this actually true? If you're a critically thinking person, right? So there's a part of you is like, but then you're like, why would somebody lie in this big way? Like, why would they do that? So you just, if they're a decent person, like why, and you're trusting this person and you're just like, you kind of start to doubt yourself rather than actually doubting that person. You start to doubt yourself. So because they make bold claims and they're unafraid and they say it so confidently that you mistake confidence for competence, but actually, they're making bold claims out of deep insecurity. It's not because it's built on truth or competence. It's actually built on a grandiose lie. So one of the things about narcissists like Candace Owens is that they're unafraid. They're unapologetic about making bold claims as long as it serves them. Number two, they don't care actually about truth. They don't care about evidence. They don't care about, presenting you with information. All they care about is speculation, putting question marks everywhere, tying some kind of anomalies to make it look like a real thing. They're charlatans, they're magicians. They don't care actually about the truth. That's something that you have to realize about narcissists, is that the only thing they care about is being in authority, power, and control. So somebody like Candace Owens, the only thing that she cares about is building her empire, making money, and being the most relevant and the number one podcast. This is what she's after. It's so unbelievable, and they will absolutely blaze through anyone and anything in their path. Which leads me to the third point, that narcissists lack absolute empathy. They literally cannot put themselves into another person's shoes and sympathize or empathize with them. They're incapable of it. Because what drives them, what motivates them is not love for God, is not love for people, is literally a love for self. And it actually stems from a deep insecurity. You see this unraveling, you see that in Saul's life, how deeply insecure he was. And everything that Saul did was constantly to protect his image, to advance his selfish ambition. He didn't care about God. He wanted to constantly kill David. And you wonder, can someone really be like this? And they absolutely can. And this is what we see with Candace. She's not afraid to damage people's reputations. She's not afraid to accuse people without evidence. She does not care, to tie in Mikey McCoy into Charlie's assassination or Netanyahu into Charlie's assassination. She's not afraid to tie, and destroy people's reputations for selfish gain. And this is what you see Candace doing time and time again. And this is something that narcissists do. They're not afraid. When you see Saul obsessed with killing David. Not only was Saul motivated by jealousy, but because David was more successful than him, he was a competition. He had to be eradicated because his fragile image, his ego as a king of Israel was on the line. And this is what, drove him to want to kill David. They do not care, whether they're killing an innocent man or, they're attacking an innocent person. Candace does not care about that. And this is why she has number one podcast in the world, is because that spirit does not care for people, does not love people, is obsessed with the self and its own empire and selfish ambition. And this is what, Paul warns Timothy about. He says, avoid such people, because there's no convincing these people or changing these people. I mean, their only divine intervention of some sort has to happen for them to change. This is how deep this is. And another thing you see about narcissists is that they are unafraid to lie. This is something that I've noticed, about, the person that I was involved with. It was like, he would just straight up lie in a big way. It's not like these white lies, sometimes, you'll say something just because you don't want to hurt people's feelings. No, they're not afraid to lie in a big way, to the point that it's like they shift and change reality. Literally, they will shift and change. They will make up stuff. And you wonder, and it's compulsory almost, like they cannot stop it because they've created so many lies. They just have to keep lying and lying. And that's why they ultimately become paranoid or they have this deep level of distrust to anything. They don't even know what is true and what is not true anymore. They lie in big ways. And that is something that narcissists do. They're absolutely unafraid to lie in big ways. And this is something that was so shocking to me because I didn't think that existed. But you have to realize this is a spirit. You know, the Bible calls Satan the father of lies. He's a father of chaos. He's a father of lies. He is the ultimate narcissist. And so when you see Candace Owens making these bold claims that she cannot substantiate or provide evidence for, you're like, but why would she lie? Why would she lie in such a big way? And let me tell you, these people will literally do this. They will not lie in small ways. They will lie in an attempt to shift and change reality to their narrative. It's crazy. And the last thing that I want to say about narcissists is that they are master gaslighters. You know, whenever you do present the evidence that is contrary to their claim, you know, they will never say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see this way. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They don't care about truth. They don't care about evidence. So even if you do provide evidence, they will engage in gaslighting. They will look in the face of real evidence and they will literally say how it's not true and how you're making stuff. And they will play the victim. They will always automatically play the victim. Always. You know, at the end of the day, it's never their fault. They will never assume responsibility. They will never apologize for their actions. Even if they do apologize, it's never a sincere apology, you know? They will literally make you go crazy because you will be like, but here's the facts. And they'll be like, no, that's not true. You're attacking me. You're framing me, you know? This is not about truth. This is about your ego, right? Like, this is what they do. So this is exactly what Candace does time and time again, you know? Like right now she believes that, you know, the French government is out there to try to assassinate her. She's made claims like this time and time again. This is not the first time that she makes this kind of claims. It was first Israel after her, then it was the Frankists who were after her. And Milk Bar TV made a beautiful compilation.
I also know that if they want to kill you, they will. I mean, that's the truth, and that's a sad thing to say, but at least you'll know who did it. It was the Frankists.
I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists.
In a full year of plots against my family, and we have been in just warrior mode for so long. And like I said, her piece matched too much the most recent Zionist attack. There is a figurative bounty on my head. Apparently influencers making up to $1,000 to make anti-Candace and anti-Tucker Carlson videos. The people have given us names and said, this is the marketing campaign that's paying for this, or this is the organization foundation that offered me money for this. But you have to present concrete proof. Like, I obviously am aware that the campaign is happening, but we need to actually see the email. So you have to submit the email that you received or the text message that you received to make a video about Candace Owens. I just want to know who specifically is behind it, so we can out that person. $10K is now the bounty for that information. Send it to tips@CandaceOwens.com.
You know, there was this specific debate that Candace had. This was like years ago before she completely went off the rails. That she had this debate that she had with Blair White. And you can see what she does, you know, her tactics step by step. And it's just like, this is evidence to you how manipulative Candace is. And
okay. The other lie, and you already said you can't provide evidence, is that Tree of Logic was paid.
I 100% think that she's paid. There was no way. By the way, if I say that I think something is paid, that is at my discretion. I can say I cannot present to you a fact, and you can't present to me not a fact. Okay, so we're both. I'm speculating, and you're saying it's not true. You saying it's not true could be a lie.
Okay, well,
I didn't say it wasn't true.
You can't prove it's not true, and I can't prove it's true.
Okay, you are admitting that
it's on you. It's on my opinion.
You
made the claim. It's on
I think you're admitting you speculated. So it's
very weird that Richard Spencer jumped into this so early, and that this person made this video, which was a complete lie, saying that. And by the way, you're not talking about any of the lies you told in that video. It's amazing to me.
Candace,
you're so hell bound to the truth and saying I'm a liar, but you're not talking about any of the lies she told.
Candace, first of all,
do you think I'm coming off the document in 3 weeks?
First of all, Candace, no. First of all, Candace, it is completely on you if you make a claim about someone, especially something that someone was paid under the table to make a video about you. It is completely on you to provide evidence for that.
Okay, I think that's fair. You are admitting you are speculating on this. You don't have evidence of it. Okay, I think that's a fair point. I think she's admitting she's speculating on it. So the burden of proof is on you. It's not on her to prove it the other way. I think that's fair. I think we're basically all agreeing on that.
So far it's like you called her a crackhead. You've said that she was paid by someone. It's like, these are just lies, and you can say that you're.
But she has told about why. If these YouTubers are really the gatekeepers of truth, why aren't they assessing the lies that this woman told? She said I was releasing a site in 3 weeks. She says she doesn't think that's true. She spent time, 40 minutes to be precise, talking about
all of my untruths, cherry picking every single thing that I have said about the person. But the person, you're defending her. You're up here defending her. So we cannot not talk about it. If all you're going to do is sit here, if all you're going to do is sit here and defend this person, then we need to talk about the fact that this person has told lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. But you don't care about any of those lies. You're focused on me. Why? Because I'm new.
I'll tell you why.
Because I'm new. Yeah, this is all envy, dude. This is YouTube high school drama, dude.
Candace, it's very easy to say, oh, it's because they're jealous of you. When in reality, it's much less about Tree of Logic and what she did or did not say. I didn't watch the full video. I'm sure she did say things that are incorrect. That doesn't mean some of it wasn't correct. It's much more about the fact that you're willing to tell lies about people in the wake of this happening. The fact that you said that she was paid by someone.
I didn't make a video about her trying to take down.
Just let her finish.
No, you just posted to your Patreon supporters that she was paid to make a video about you. That's a lie. It's a lie.
All right, fair enough. And well, we don't know it's a lie, but you are admitting we are admitting that it's speculation. There is no proof of it. Okay,
it was a direct claim. It wasn't I think. It wasn't I'm speculating.
So out of curiosity, why do you feel the need to always point out in videos, on streams, I should say, on a stream, on a phone call, via right now sitting down, your focus has been me. Why aren't you focusing on her?
Because you're sitting across from me, Candace.
No.
And I don't believe that Christians should be listening to her unless she repents of her sin, because she's just off the rails, and she uses the name of our Lord in vain. Things that she's made up and did is just atrocious, and she does not take correction from anyone because she's the ultimate authority. She believes her word is supreme, as ultimate. She has no fear of God. Her God is herself, and she is prideful to God knows what level. And that is something that we need to pay attention to as Christians and not fall for, because there's this rise on the right of these kind of people. Any woman or a man of God who is in the public sphere cares very deeply about the kind of words they use, because they know that ultimately they will give an account to the Lord for every word that was spoken out of their mouth, So I hope that none of you guys fall for Candace Owens, because, it's horrifying, the things that she's doing. It's just out of control, it's out of control. It's gotten to the level that I wonder if she's going through some kind of psychosis, because you see that in Saul, like when this evil spirit was oppressing him, he would do some crazy nonsense stuff that you're like, whoa, it can get to that level. This is how dangerous this kind of spirit is. It can get you to the level of just literal mental instability. So thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts on this issue. If you are noticing this narcissism that I absolutely see in Candace Owens, and I'll see you guys in the next video.